Bear friends of Iowa. How y'all doing this afternoon? Well, I know it's hot, but man, we got a lot to talk about, so bear with me. It is so good to be at the Iowa State Fair today. This is one of my favorite places on earth, and one of the reasons being is because it takes the best of who we are as a state and converges it into 10 or 11 days and just makes magic happen. We have ag here, we have small business here, we have rural, urban, suburban, and all different types of walks of life. And the community that we have right now, as we see it in full action throughout this Iowa State Fair experience, is something that I believe is worth fighting for. But it's not just the folks, yes. It's not just the folks that are here today. It's the folks that couldn't make it here today, the folks who wanted to be here, the ones who couldn't afford to be here. As I see it, good people, this state has so much good that exists in it. But unfortunately, right now, we're all enduring challenges that I believe that we can overcome. When we think about education, something that we all so greatly value, our state was once number one in education. Now, as we look at it, we're 18, 19, 20 on the list. And we know as Iowans, that's not where we belong. And we know as Iowans, that's not what our children deserve. But what we also know as Iowans is that there's something we can do about it. We know right now that the leadership that exists right now at Terrace Hill is starving our systems, literally starving our systems. She only gave our education budget a 2% increase. Inflation is at 8%. Meanwhile, our teachers, our educators, our bus drivers, our custodians are walking away from the profession. Our students in our rural communities are graduating from high school, vowing to never go back. When we look at our students in our urban communities, we consistently see third grade reading scores consistently drop. But what can we do about it? Well, one, we can fund our education system. We can fund public schools. We can ensure that every child in this state that's 3 and 4 years old has access to early childhood education so they can walk into kindergarten prepared. We can do it, can we not? We can also ensure that our high school students, when they graduate from high school, aren't just prepared to go to college. We're going to make sure they're prepared to go to college. If they want to go to technical school, we're going to make sure that they can go to technical school. But when our kids graduate from college and they just happen to want to get a job, that should be okay too, and our system should be preparing them for that. And once they get that job, good people, I only want them to have to work one job to make ends meet. Is that reasonable? One job to be able to provide for your families, put a roof on your head. You know, in Polk County, where's Polk County at right now? Hey, Polk County. In Polk County, we have the luxury to be able to talk about how we can live, work, and play in our communities, how we can go to sleep in our communities. We can get up and have fun in our communities, and we can go and take our kids to decent schools in our communities. But that luxury is not available all over this state. But you better believe all 99 counties deserve that access. They deserve that access. All 99 counties deserve good housing in their communities. All 99 counties deserve good schools in their communities. All 99 counties deserve good housing that you can afford in your communities. This state is not short of vision. As I travel in all of these counties, I hear good people talking about the challenges that exist, but I also hear them talking about the solutions. And when I ask them, what's the barrier? What's getting in the way of you resolving these challenges? They say investment. We're making do with what we have. We need the state to show up for us more. Where the state's gonna show up for this entire state under my leadership. It's gonna happen. You know, as I'm traveling, another thing that I'm hearing is lack of access to health care and mental health care services. In our rural communities, folks are driving 45, 60 miles to get care. In our urban communities, people live right next door to the hospital and can't get the care that they need. That is unreasonable. If we're going to put Iowans to work, if we're going to strengthen our communities, then Iowans should have access to a healthcare system that's ensuring that they are good from the crown of their head to the sole of their feet. That also includes mental health care. We see suicides are up across the state and we don't like it. We see substance abuse up across this state and we don't like it. Our cops are telling me, Deidre, we're becoming quasi-mental health care practitioners. That's not what we signed up for. In our rural communities, the county jails are becoming holding facilities for people with mental health challenges. We can do better than that, can we not, Iowa? I'm gonna tell you a story of a father that I met in Dubuque. He was telling me about his son, who was 17 years old. And he called his dad in the middle of the day and he said, Dad, I'm thinking about harming myself. So this dad did what any good dad would do. He hopped in his car, he got to his kid, and he took him to the emergency room. Now, mind you, this is an insured father, a father that pays for his insurance. He gets to the emergency room because that's the only place he can take him. Once he gets to that emergency room, the doctor says, all right, we see your son has some issues here. But unfortunately, we can't get him in to see a psychiatrist for another 6 months. That is unreasonable. At the moment in time in which this kid was brave enough to raise his hand and say, I need help, the state did not provide provision for him to get that help. Why? Because we have less than 30 child psychiatrists for a population of more than 500,000 students in this state. Is that right? Can we do better? The next best thing that doctor offered that child, mind you, he's in Dubuque. We all know where Dubuque is, right? He said there's a free bed in Sioux City. We know where Sioux City is, right? Too far, 5.5, 6 hours away. That doctor said there was an open bed in Sioux City. This state has less than 600 mental health beds for a population of more than 3 million people. Our governor is perpetuating a crisis, but guess what? We can do better, can we not? The last best thing that doctor could offer this child was a psychologist appointment in 2 months. 2 months. We are 35th in the nation in mental health care worker availability, and we're gonna do better. The reason why I talk to you about this story is because we all see the challenges with mental health in our own communities, perhaps in our own families. We know the travesty that exists. On the outside looking in, one might look at our mental health care system and say, oh, Iowa must be broke. Iowa must not have any solutions. Well, as I've been traveling this state, I know Iowans know what's good for Iowa. I know we're not short of solutions. And guess what, good people? We're also not broke. $1.5 billion of your taxpayer money is sitting in an account that this current governor is calling a trust fund. Well, I'm of the mindset that you've got to be in a position of privilege to have a trust fund. That's Iowa's rainy day fund, and it's raining in our state on mental health care, on education, on health care, on child care. We have to have leadership who's going to put your resources to work, not circumvent the problem. It is a point of strength to acknowledge the challenges that exist. But I am emboldened to acknowledge all of the challenges that we have in our state. Why? Because I know as Iowans, we know how to overcome them. Because we've done it time and time again. When we talk about being number one in education, we weren't just number one because of our amazing educators. Where are the educators at in the house? Good to see y'all here. You all make our system work so greatly, but there's a few more reasons why I think we were number one. And it wasn't just because we're home of the Iowa Basic Skills Test either. We were number one because nearly 100 years before Brown versus Board of Education, our state, when we were probably 99.9% white, we made a decision to desegregate our schools. And let me tell you why this is important. Because this was a tough decision to make. We were leading on this issue. There was question about it all over the country. But Iowa made a decision on the account of a little girl in Muscatine County. Her name was Susan Clark, rural Iowa. She was 12 years old and needed to go to middle school. Her father had been homeschooling her and realized we need a stronger public education system to take you where you need to go. Our state recognized that journey, and it said through our courts that no matter your race, no matter your gender, no matter where you live, every Iowan in this state deserves access to a strong public quality education system. And you better believe that battle was not easy when we won it, but we fought it in this state. and the rest of the country begin to lead behind us. So I know sometimes we're a little bit challenged. We see all the issues around us and we think, it's too hard to overcome. But I want you as Iowans to be reminded of what we all are capable of as Iowans. We no longer have to settle for the status quo. This notion that you've got to rob Peter to pay Paul, I've unsubscribed to that. We've got to make sure Paul is good, Peter is good, and Paula. And we're going to do that under my leadership because Iowa is worth the work. None of what I'm talking about is going to be easy, but you better believe it. It's going to be worth it. We are standing right now in a favorite place, not just the Iowa State Fair. Many of you all know I'm a former basketball coach, and I coached basketball at Des Moines East High School. And if you missed the 2011-2012 season, I'm so sorry. But what happened in that season was something magnificent. We took a group of 14 girls every day, every practice, every game through a 26-0 season, and we won that state championship in 2012 under the leadership of Sam Powell. But let me tell you what was so significant about those wins. Every time we approached an opponent, we recognized the talent, the gifts, the assets that opponent had. We weren't haters. We recognized it. But once we recognized their gifts and their talents, we then focused our attention on our own gifts and talents. We focused our attention on how we were going to overcome the barrier of winning each and every practice. These are the moments, folks, where we focus on ourselves. Well, not only we remind ourselves of what we're capable of, but we go and share with other people what we're capable of. We just didn't lead in desegregating our schools. Remember what happened in 2007 at the brink of the recession when we had about 15 people running for president, and all of this country was wondering who's going to be the next president of the United States. Well, our state said boldly and proudly Barack Obama, and here's the kicker. Here's the kicker. This is why we're just so amazing as Iowans. We said Barack Obama, and guess what? The rest of the country listened to us. They listened to us. Don't forget what you're capable of, because many of you all volunteered in those races, and you knew it wasn't easy. You knew it wasn't easy. But as you all are reaching out to your family, as you all are reaching out to your family members, restoring faith in democracy, letting them know that their voice is so meaningful to the process, there are going to be attacks from the other side that would suggest that our request for a strong public education system is unreasonable. They're going to suggest that our request to have safe schools, that our request to have access to health care and mental health care is unreasonable. But I want you all to be reminded what your requests are just that. They are reasonable. They are reasonable. And in those moments where you hear them, the chattering class, try to get in your head, I want you to remember this other thing. Remember what happened in 2010, when everybody was in everybody's bedroom. People were trying to figure out who should marry who. Well, Iowa raised its hand boldly and proudly and said, mind your business and marry who you choose. We pride ourselves in this state in fueling this country and feeding the world. We are agricultural leaders. We are education leaders. We have led in the economy. We in this state know the way. We are not short of vision. We just need leadership who's, one, willing to turn the lights on for us, and two, willing to get out of our way. That's where we're at right now. And all of that can happen in this election cycle. But here, we're talking on the soapbox. And some of my friends on the basketball court will tell you 9 days out of the week that talk is cheap. Are you willing to put in the work behind it? We know this state is worth it. We know the lane exists for us to have leadership in this office that best represents all Iowans. But it doesn't come at the click of your finger. It doesn't come at the click of your thumb on your phone. It comes because we have to invest our time and our energy into ensuring that people who aren't here today, people who lost hope, people who lost sight of what democracy actually can do, are willing to participate. Do you all remember on the March on Washington, MLK said consistently, let freedom ring, let freedom ring, let freedom ring. Y'all remember that saying? Well, this election is about our freedom. This election is about our voting rights. Election is about a woman being able to go into her doctor's appointment, make a decision that's good for her and not have to consider the opinion of Kim Reynolds. That's what this election is about. And if we want to maintain our freedoms in this state, we have to do something about it. Let freedom ring. Let freedom ring. If we're going to do something about it, I want you all to be reminded of this last quote, and I'm going to wrap it up. Coretta Scott King said right after her husband, freedom is never really won. Freedom is never really won. You earn it and you win it at every generation. The fights that we are fighting today have already been fought and won. But are you willing in these moments to stand up for what you believe in? I am a rock in boiling water, and I want y'all to be in this boiling water with me. I want y'all to be in this water with me because we have to stand strong to what we believe in. We have to stand strong to building our communities. We are no longer in a position to say, it's just about me. It's about all of us. This race will not be decided because of the R behind somebody's name or because of the D behind somebody's name. This race is going to be decided because of the I behind all of our names. And if there are independents in the crowd, with all due respect, it doesn't stand for independence. That I stands for Iowans because that's who we are. And we're going to remind this country of what we're capable of because Iowa is worth the work, are we not? Are you willing to put in the work? Well, thank you for letting me stand on this soapbox and chat with you. Have a good state fair. Support these small businesses.